Reminder, I do have a Patreon and Subscribe star, and if you join today, you get access to this month's exclusive video where I talk about Monroe from Mad Magazine's fame and the hellish world he lives in. And now, on with the video. What's good, people? Agent Jules reporting for duty. Ragyo Kiryuin, at least I think that's how you pronounce that name, it's pretty difficult. Anyway, she, from Kill la Kill fame, is quite possibly the most evil villain I have covered in the Velicia Cosplays series. In fact, I would go as far as to say she's quite possibly one of the most evil villains in all of modern media. So what exactly makes her so evil? Well, let us first buckle into our favorite set of clothing that transforms when we cut ourselves. Let us fight a bunch of school children with interesting outfits and weapons. Let us do very questionable things to relatives of ours who are of a very questionable age. Let's smash the like button before things get weird. And let's go ahead and talk about this phenomenon, shall we? Alrighty, as we always do, let's first discuss the speed paint. This is yet again another episode of Velicia Cosplays, where my OC Velicia from my cartoon SCHNEEEVIL cosplays as a villainess of some kind in order to glean something from either the villainess herself or her story. In this case, of course, Velicia is cosplaying as Ragyo, and she's dressing up in the quite revealing outfit flying above the planet of Schnee, in this case, in the scene kind of towards the end of Kill la Kill, where Ragyo and Ryuko face off in their final confrontation. And Velicia is learning the hard way that the fabric of the top is quite thin. So let's just say that there is not much that is left to the imagination because of it. So yes, that is today's speed paint. Kill la Kill is one hell of an anime. I recommend watching it. It is bizarre, it is wild, it is crazy. It is the story of this rambunctious fighter known as Ryuko. It's her story of trying to seek vengeance for her father by climbing up the ranks of this crazy high school. And the shtick of the anime is that clothing gives you superpowers. And the less clothing you wear, the more powerful you become, apparently. And she fights with one half of a giant pair of scissors. And it's pretty goofy, because apparently there's such thing as human clothing hybrids in this anime. Yeah, it's anime, okay? Anime does weird nonsense all the time. So it's what you'd expect, and also what you wouldn't expect at the same time. But as crazy as it is, we are not here to talk about the hero of the story. We are here to talk about the villain, Ragyo. Let's make no bones about it. Ragyo is very evil. A long time ago, I made a video called 13 Lessons I've Learned at Age 30. One of the things I talked about is the concept of evil and what I personally believe evil is. My personal definition of evil is a lesser desire trumping a greater need. And the example I believe I used to kind of drive home the extreme, it was an extreme example, but to give an idea of the point, is that a lesser desire would be an ice cream cone. Boy, oh boy, would I love to have an ice cream cone. But in order to get an ice cream cone, I have to murder this old lady. So the greater need of the old lady's life clearly is held at a higher standard than my lesser desire for an ice cream cone. But if I were to murder that old lady, and I don't know, I guess it's her ice cream cone, so I murdered her so I could steal her ice cream cone for nothing more than my immediate fulfillment of a lesser desire, that is an evil act. Now, things start to get muddy if, for example, you know the movie Saw, where like people are like tortured with all these traps. There's like one Saw trap where, in fact, I think it's in the first Saw movie, where one of the victims has to, in order to save his own life, he has to kill someone else. So the act of murder is still considered bad in our society, but it's also like, okay, well, you're murdering because your own life is at stake, and now things start to get less morally absolute. In fact, this is the classic thing of like self-defense. If you have to kill in self-defense, it's not seen as an evil act because you are in the act of saving your own life when someone is assaulting you. So you can see kind of the back and forth. So what does this have to do with Ragyo? Ragyo commits horrible, horrible atrocities to many, many, many people for nothing more than her own perverted, hedonistic desires. Ragyo is this super clothing tycoon who wants to, because the thing about Kill la Kill is that clothing is alive because they're like a space alien race, and Ragyo wants to have the space alien race like descend from the heavens and take over the world so that she can use the clothing to like expand her empire and pleasure herself with it. It's really creepy and really weird. The other thing about Ragyo is that she does bad touch to her own children, which is ultra creepy and like the highest order of morally repugnant, of course. So that's another thing that, of course, makes her absolutely evil, because we as a society have deemed naughty touching of minors to be the like absolutely utterly reprehensible, and Ragyo not only indulges in it but does so with disgusting pleasure. Okay, that's her whole thing is that she gleans sexual pleasure from these hideous, horrible acts upon humanity, and thus, because she has this small, minor niche of a desire, this lesser desire that is trumping the greater need of so many people, she fits my definition of ultimate evil. Now, there have been other characters I've covered in the Velicia Cosplay series who do acts of evil surely for the sake of the joy it brings. One of the characters I think of is Maleficent, which was the subject, not the subject before, the subject before was Mom, but before Mom was Maleficent. And I mentioned in that video that Maleficent's whole thing is that she clearly only does evil out of spite, and you can see that as kind of very villainous, but there's also kind of a cathartic release of seeing a character who just like, you know, gives no F's, as it were, and just does whatever they want. But with Ragyo, it goes that step beyond, because it's so creepy. Okay, she's not spiteful in like a snap in a Z formation, I do what I want kind of way. She is creepy in her evil. So what does this have to do with Velicia? What can I possibly get out of this? Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to divorce a big part of Ragyo's character and set it aside, which is the creepy factor. Despite Ragyo being very creepy, Ragyo does have one big thing going for her, and that is her style, her pizzazz. In addition to being the most creepy and most evil character I've covered on this series, I have to admit that she's also the most stylish. She is a clothing tycoon after all. She knows everything there is to know about presentation. So, 服とは罪。人は禁断の知恵の実を食べた時、その裸体を恥じ、イチジクの葉で秘書を覆った。を持った時から罪という名の衣を身にまとうことを定めとしたのだ。Velicia, of course, could probably see that in a character, you know, and like I said, like something that Velicia would want to emulate, of course, is that style, but it would be very interesting to see that even for someone like Velicia, there are lines that she will not cross. And we're talking more than just the, you know, don't put your creepy little hands on chillin'. Velicia does not have it in her heart to commit such vile atrocities against large swaths of people for so little. There is no pleasure that Velicia has that is worth that cost of life to her. So if anything, if there's one thing that I can glean as a storyteller, and Velicia can glean as a character from Ragyo, is there is a line. As much as Velicia wants to be the evil empress, as much as there is atrocities that Velicia is willing to commit for the sake of her own, placating her own bizarre ego and her own bizarre idea of what like a supreme dark empress is, there is a limit. It would be interesting in the story if I can explore what is Velicia's line that she will not cross in her pursuits of domination of a planet. Very heavy food for thoughts, I must say. So yeah, I think let's go ahead and leave it there for today. So you people know what to do here. If you like what you see and you want to see more, go ahead and tickle those sacred buttons. Definitely leave a comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts on this whole debacle and the lines that even certain villains won't cross. And of course, share the video because it's good for you, it's good for me, it's good for the algorithm, it's good for your teeth. Also, of course, remember my Patreon and subscribe star if you want to see the long paint version of today's speed paint as well as the exclusive videos I always make. And if you wish to stalk me elsewhere on the interbuts, you can go ahead and hit up my links here up on the screen, as well as pay special attention, of course, to minds.com, because it's the alternative website I like using. I'm probably going to be adding more. I'm doing more exploration as I reach my tendrils out into the ether. But yeah, with all that said, I thank you for spending this time with me. I do hope you all stick around. And until next time, deuces.